Next, we go back to 2010 for a sentencing hearing in Elko, Nevada.
The state of Nevada, Michelle Lynn Taylor.
34-year-old Michelle Lynn Taylor has been charged with lewdness with a child under the age of 14. An incident in which she allegedly kissed her friend's 13-year-old son and forced him to touch her breast. She was ultimately found guilty and now faces a severe mandatory sentence under Nevada state law.
Your Honor, there's only one penalty that's available for the court to award to the defendant, and that's imprisonment in the state prison for life.
That's right, a sentence of life in prison.
I suspect that the defense is going to tell you, well, this sentence is way out of line. But it was a sentence that the legislature of Nevada has created for this type of crime.
Taylor will be eligible for parole after 10 years. Her attorney, Alina Kilpatrick, argues the crime doesn't fit the one-size-fits-all sentence imposed by the state.
Your Honor, the jury was not allowed to know the potential sentence in this case, and the legislature doesn't know the facts. When evaluating this case, Your Honor, we cannot think that this is a 10-year sentence, because it's not. This is a sentence of life, because the legislature doesn't know the circumstances.
Those circumstances, Kilpatrick explains, include various mitigating factors that weren't allowed to be taken into consideration during the trial.
The mandatory sentence of life does not allow this court the discretion to consider the fact that a forensic psychiatrist said that Michelle Taylor is at a low risk of reoffending, that she was under the influence at the time of this offense, and that she herself suffered unimaginable, egregious sexual abuse as a child. Absolutely unimaginable and egregious.
To further support her argument that the punishment doesn't fit the crime, Kilpatrick lays out a graphic comparison to another case.
Now, the most horrifying case of sexual abuse that I could find perpetrated by a woman came out of Florida, and that was, in fact, clearly egregious. Miss Simmons was having a 5-year-old perform sex acts on her while her boyfriend was videotaping it, and she got 70 years. 70 years, although a stiff sentence, is less than life.
Growing more impassioned in her argument, Kilpatrick offers yet another disturbing example of the discrepancy in punishment when compared to another crime.
The minimum penalty for first-degree murder is 50 years. She is getting a greater penalty for having a boy touch her breast than she would if she had killed him, and that is unconscionable. And for that reason, Your Honor, because the statute is unconstitutional, I am asking this court not to impose the mandatory sentence of life in prison, because it shocks the conscience and is contrary to the 8th Amendment and everything the Constitution and justice stands for. Thank you.
Despite her attorney's plea, Michelle Taylor received the mandatory sentence of life in prison with the possibility of parole after 10 years. A later appeal of the case was denied by the Nevada Supreme Court. Taylor was released on parole in 2019 after serving the minimum 10 years. Thanks for being a fan of Court Cam. Subscribe to A&E to never miss a new video and catch full episodes on aetv.com.